Hello, and welcome to another Steel Division Divisional overview. And today we're taking a look at the American 2nd Infantry Division. It's an infantry division, as I have real no joke or memes to say about it. This is pretty standard. So, well, let's just take a look at the actual deck composition. In terms of slots, you got lots of infantry, of course, lots of artillery, support and anti-tank, and everything else is pretty standard. 40 activation points, which is definitely quite a lot. You have a lot of leeway in picking your units. And in terms of economy, you got 75 points in A phase, 120 in B, and 135 in C. So it's a pretty good point increase. The B and C phase economy is really quite top tier for this division. So let's just jump right in. Recon, you got Recon dudes, either in 30 cal jeeps or 50 cal M20s. If you want a better transport, let's take the M20s. You only got Ranger Marauders, a few other Ranger units within this division as well. The Ranger Marauders are nice because they're kind of like a voucher adverse squad with the Panda Strike, just with a bazooka. But a 2-star bazooka is not to be trifled with, as it means they're going to hit an awful lot more. And they also have 3 guys in the squad with 3 submachine guns. You shouldn't be using these guys as shock troopers, but if worse comes to worse, getting engaged at close range, you can at least fight back rather efficiently. You don't want to be getting into those situations to begin with. The Ranger Marauders are really best to just hold fire, try to sneak around into a good ambush position, and when that Panzer IV comes barreling down the road, there it goes. Into B phase, you got scouts, which are pretty decent. They come in an M3 scout car for 50 cal, can't go wrong with all 50 cals, and then an M8 Greyhound, which is, it's pretty standard, nothing really too interesting here. The Recon tab it's a very American Recon tab, there's nothing too crazy going on apart from the Rangers. For infantry, so the main thing about 2nd Infantry is you got all the Ranger guys in A phase. It's kind of like a Saving Private Ryan, but they can't blow up a Tiger tank with their pistols, unfortunately. You got Ranger Leaders, which are a good leader unit, because they have 2 satchel chargers, meaning if you get into close range, they can hold their own rather bloody well. You then got an option between Ranger Assaults, Ranger Supports, and Ranger Assaults. Ranger Supports are your long-range machine gunners, and because they have 2 M1919s, they can fight Panzer Grenadiers at long range pretty effectively. And then you got Ranger Assaults, which are your close range flamethrower troops. They don't have smoke, which is a bit of a shame, so it can be harder to get into a position, but put these guys in the forest, they do pretty good. And then you got the Ranger M1919. Now, during the initial release of this game, pretty much you'd see for 2nd Infantry players is all they're taking A phase are the Ranger troops. Now that's not a good idea, because when the game first initially released, the Rangers, the veterancy just for all units was much more powerful. Having a higher veterancy was really quite Terminator tier. But now that veterancy isn't the Terminator tier as it was before, you can't really just rely on these Ranger troops. As a problem with them is they're only 6-man squads, which is pretty low. And yes, they can kick a lot of ass, but they're gonna die much faster compared to regular riflemen. And so it's good to have a few Ranger units within A phase, but you don't want to be missing out too much on rifles. I think this division, especially these days, is more focused on rifle spam than your A phase shotgun or Ranger troops. And that brings us over to the rifles. American rifles are goddamn excellent, because they are just beefy. They are absolute beefy boys, as they can just take a lot of shots because they're a 12-man squad compared to a regular 10-man squad. Compared to the British 20-point rifles, yes, they only have 1 submachine guns, but they all have semi-automatic weaponry, which gives them a much better, just fire rate with their regular rifles compared to any other infantry unit in game. Unless they also have semi-automatic rifles like a Cavalry 43, but that's not the case. You also have bar guns. Bars are pretty terrible. They're not really that good. And they run out of ammo rather fast. But actually, that's not really a bad thing, to be honest, because they weren't doing that much damage to begin with. And you get a lot of rifles in this deck. And A phase get them in packs of 5, B phase packs of 7, and C phase in a pack of 9. So you're not going to be running out of rifles in this division. In B phase, you've got rifle leaders. You can get them in a regular truck, or you can get them in a truck with a 50 cal on top. You want to be getting a truck with a 50 cal on top, trust me. And rifle leaders are great because they're pretty much like a regular rifle squad, but they have really good close range weaponry and a bazooka. So even though you shouldn't be frontline, infantry units, if you do find yourself in a sticky situation and you have to fight your way out of a town, the rifle leaders can definitely do that. And just having the extra juke is always helpful, as you don't really have that much juke capability with this division to begin with. You got a 50 cal machine gun as well into B phase. The 50 cal machine guns you can never really go too wrong with, and good use of 50 cals. Now, this is an American division, so of course all the tanks are goddamn Shermans. And we got all sorts of Shermans here. You got floaty Shermans, you got starry Shermans, you got vanilla Shermans, and then you got endangered species Shermans. The A-phase DDs, they're pretty good. You got to consider in an A-phase, yes, you don't really have that much in terms of armor. You're mainly just fighting light scout vehicles and crappy little French tanks. Sorry to the rather big powerhouse of unit. That's good for AT and infantry support. These are very good A-phase cards. I would recommend taking like 2 of them in A-phase. You get more into B-phase, and I'd say this is a much better card compared to the regular Infantry ones, as you do have the veterancy and a bit of extra armor. Yes, you lose a machine gun compared to regular Infantry 1 Shermans, but that's not really that big of a deal. The command cards are alright. I don't think you're really lacking too much for command in this division, so I think these are definitely rather skippable. And then you got the Rhino one, which has a bit of extra frontal armor for just 10 points more. They're all just regular Shermans. They're not going to be great when the heavy tanks start rolling onto the field, but, if you use them in more close range engagements, they have the stabilizers. You've got to realize that, so when going around corners, you do acquire your target much faster compared to a Panther 4. They're still pretty useful. You just gotta realize, just keep them a bit hidden and back when those Panthers and Tigers start rolling out. Support, you got quite a nice amount of support cards. You got the M3 command card, is definitely a good choice. As you get 4 of them, it's got 1 star veteranry, and it's only 20 points. Yes, it's not a machine gun, but it's a leader unit. It's meant to be watching the other guys do the shooting. You got the cheap 50 cal. Yeah, it's not really that rough, right? You've already got a lot of other 50 cals, especially in A phase, so it's not like you're really hurting. And then you got the Duck W. Now, the Duck Ws are fantastic, because for the same price as a regular supply truck, you get 50% more supply, 15,000 compared to the regular 10,000. So you're not going to be running out of supply in this division whatsoever, and you can get a judicious amount of Duck W. So you're doing pretty good in that regard. And you got your 2 main A-phase actual 5 support units, the T30 and the M7DD. T30 is rather nice, even though it has like a low-powered 75mm and on a rather lightly armored chassis or car. I think it's like an M3 Scout car, I believe, or M3 A1. Nonetheless, it has 2-star veterancy, so it can be a rather big killer. And also, once again, it's just fighting German light tanks early on. This is definitely a good choice to take, especially if you want to hold a more auxiliary area of the front, but you don't want to throw a Sherman over here. The T30 is a good secondary choice. You only got the M7DDs, which are fantastic because it has 1.2 kilometer range and 15 HE. This is great for knocking out anti-tank guns and scaring off lighter tanks. And if something does get close, such as an airplane, you got 2 50 cals instead of just 1 50 cal. So you can put down a lot of firepower, and they also have veterancy too. Or 1-star veterancy. Then you have flamethrowers. Yeah, you don't really need these guys. You've already got Ranger Assaults in your infantry tab. But at the same time, flamethrowers do have smoke grenade, which is also helpful, but I know it's just better support cards. You can take more Duck Ws. M20 commands. I still think it's just better for you to get the M3 command car, as it's just better point rise, and you don't really need the 50 cal on top. And some more T30s in B phase, but by B phase, it definitely overstayed their welcome a bit. They're not really a good B phase unit to take, as Panther 4 start rolling onto the field. The T30 doesn't have that good of a time. Anti-tank. It's anti-tank guns and tank destroyers. It's pretty standard American doctrine here. You got 57mm AT guns. You got the 1-star veterancy, which I definitely recommend taking a 1-star veterancy over the no-star veterancy, as it gives you that extra first shot chance of actually hitting the bloody thing. And for AT guns, it's all about hitting with that first goddamn shot. And then you got 76mm AT guns. You could get them in A phase, which is nice, because this is a really good AT gun. It's pretty much like an allied Pack 40, really. Yeah, it's pretty good. And you got some B phase bazookas, which aren't a terrible choice, considering that a lot of the infantry don't have bazookas, but they're not necessary. More 76s, and then you got some M10s and B. M10 Wolverines are going to be your heavy hitting tanks for this divisional tank destroyers, really. They're pretty good. And then more 76s and C-Phase and more Wolverines. With the option of 2-star Wolverines. It may seem like a bad choice getting the 2-star Wolverines, but that 2-star veterancy really adds up. And you can definitely snipe Panthers running array with these M10s. It's just, you just gotta be much more careful about keeping the 2-star ones alive, as you can't really afford to lose them. And the nice thing is, once you hit into like C-Phase, you can buy 1 Wolverine a minute. Heck, with this division, you can buy, once you hit C-Phase, you can buy a lot of units, 1 per minute, which is just really good economically. And yeah, it's the American trifecta, Bofors, M15s, and M16s, just all throughout. It's a really good anti-air lineup. I mean, you got your static Bofors guns, and then the M15s are always absolute killers, and the M16s are your cheaper, shorter range killers. But they're all really good anti-air pieces. You can't go wrong with them. Artillery. You have a very powerful artillery lineup for this division, and a lot of artillery slots. I believe this division has the most artillery slots in game. I think maybe 352nd may overtake it by a bit, but you got a lot of slots to work with. You got 6mm mortars, Ranger mortars to be exact. These are goddamn powerful, as they shoot so bloody fast, and even though they're a short range mortar, only 6mm, they have 900-meter range, so yeah, it's pretty damn good. Great for clearing towns, great for smoking areas, just great in general. You'd always want to take a card of these chaps. And you got 81mm mortars, which are your mid-range mortars, and then you got heavy mortars as well, all in A phase. So you definitely got a mortar for every situation, and the 107s are always a good choice as they put down a whopping 16 HE value. You got more of these heavy mortars in B phase, and then we got something that's music to my ears, the xylophone. It's pretty much like a Calliope, but on a truck. It's the same rockets as a Calliope. This is definitely a very good unit, as cheap at only 100 points, and it's allied rocket artillery. Only other allied division that has on-map rocket artillery is 3rd Armoured, and the Calliopes are 200 points, which is pretty expensive. At the same time, the Calliope is also a main battle tank. The xylophone's great, as you can just stun everything up in good old rocket artillery fashion. They're not as great as naval werfers, because they don't leave the napalm effect on the ground after they fire, but you can't have everything. And because it's on a truck, it's mobile, so you can reposition rather well. And they only have 1.3 kilometer range compared to 1.6 kilometer range. Yeah, Axis rocket artillery gets. You also got some off-map M4s. Not really worth it. You do not need these guys at all. Then you got the 105 howitzers, which are your big artillery pieces. These are your heavy guns with 15 HE and 2.4 kilometer range, so you can dish out a lot of damage, and you can get a stupid amount of them in C phase. Like, I don't think you're gonna need 6 of them in C phase, to be honest. But if you really want that many, the option is there for you. They're good. The only problem is, because it's a static artillery piece, or just a towed artillery piece, it will get counter batteried, and it will die pretty quickly. Well, it has 8 HP, but when you're being counter batteried, you can't really hit for shit, because you're just so inaccurate due to the suppression effect that it does to you. More xylophones into C phase, and you got some off-map 203s. This is definitely a good card, as 203mm off-map is pretty powerful, and you get 2 from a card, so it's definitely a worthwhile pick. Now, airplanes. Now, it wouldn't be summer of 1944 without complete Allied air supremacy, and 2nd Infantry has complete Allied air supremacy. You got grasshoppers, you got some P-38 Lightnings in A phase, which are not the best fighters, but it's a fighter in A phase, so you can't complain too much. You also got some light attack P-38s with the rockets. Now, alright, I don't really think a good unit, to be entirely honest, as they just don't do that much damage. Then you got a bunch of P-47 Thunderbolts with everyone's favourite unkillable Gabby. P-47s is like up here with best fighters in the game. I still think the Tempest is a slight better fighter. But the P-47 is extremely resilient, it's much faster compared to a Focke-Wulf 190, and you got 850 cals giving you 8 HE damage. So you will just tear, absolutely tear, any airplane that you get behind. And you'll definitely be able to chase them down, as the Thunderbolt is really bloody good at that. And you get a lot of these Thunderbolts. And you got more Thunderbolts. You got a light bomber variant. You got a medium, kind of heavy rocket variant. It's no AT. It's not like a Typhoon AT, but you can still stun up tanks with this rather efficiently. You just won't be getting complete kills with them. And then you got the heavy bomber P-38 Lightning with 2 bloody big runs right underneath. And well, that's really 2nd Infantry. I got one deck to show you here. Once again, the deck codes will be in the description below. And I actually have 2 decks I want to show you. This one, I'm showing you right now, is what I consider more standard 2nd Infantry deck. A more, just, general purpose type deck. So we're taking 2 Ranger Order cards and then the B-Phase Scouts, just enough Recon Infantry. We're going to be taking a Ranger Assault. I'm not really a big fan of the support, as the Assaults end up doing more damage, usually. And I don't feel like you need Infantry to fight Panda Grenadiers at long range, because you already got like 5 support units, such as the T-30, M7DDs, Sherman's Rule, etc. to give you an advantage. So I'd much rather have just more meat shieldy rifles. And the Ranger Assault are going to be your town clearers. More rifles, rifle leaders, and more rifles. Tanks, we're taking both M4DDs and A phase. It's definitely good. The B phase M4s and then the C phase M4A1 Rhinos. It's enough tanks to get you by. Support, Duck W and A and B phase. That gives you an awful lot of supply, more than you ever need, and enough to give some of your allies if you're playing a team match. M3 command car, then just 1 T30 and then 2 M7DDs. As these M7DDs work really well even into the later stages of the match, as you can't go wrong with 15 HE at 1.2 kilometer range. Anti-tank, it's a pretty healthy mix. We're taking the 1-star veteran C57s and then the 76 in A phase. B phase, 76, 1 M10 and C phase, 2-star 76s as the veteran chief, like I said before. Having the extra veteran chief so you can get that first shot kill, because with AT guns it's all about the first shot kill. It's pretty important. And then the M10 destroyers as well, so enough AT to keep you going. Anti-air, it's just 2 Bofors cards and M15, it's more than enough to get you by. It's not as mobile as you may want it to be, but it's still a pretty slow, not mobile deck, so the Bofors are more than enough. Artillery. It's a pretty light, this is my general preference, because I don't really think I need that much artillery. We're taking Ranger 60mm mortars and the 107mm mortars. 1 card of 105 howitzers, because they're pretty decent. B-phase xylophone and C-phase xylophones. Really, I'm mainly using the xylophones compared to the other artillery pieces. Xylophones are great, because it's just so bloody general purpose. You need to, you just need to stun an entire area. Xylophone does, yeah, and just being able to stun the enemy and stop them from pushing is pretty important. And then airplanes, P-38 fighters. I like having lots of fighters because having complete air supremacy is always fun. And then we got the P-47 Thunderbolt light bomber and then the heavy rocket plane. So this is what I consider to be a standard, more standard loadout 2nd Infantry deck. The second deck I want to show you is more of a meme deck. It's pretty cheesy, but I've had a lot of fun with it. This second deck I've only really used in team games, really. I can't speak to its effectiveness in 1v1s, but nonetheless. Recon's pretty much the same. For infantry, we're just taking rifles, because screw rangers, we just want rifles. With this infantry setup, we have 40 riflemen available to us, 40 scrolls worth. You're not going to be running out of rifles, and if you do, you're doing something wrong. And you got the 2 leader cards. Tanks is the same. Support, a little bit less, because we just kind of need more cards later on, as we just don't take 2 M7 DDs. Anti-tank, this is the second meme. We take all the 76s, so screw Wolverines when you got this many 76s. Taking this many AT guns may seem a bit bad, because you're probably thinking you want at least like some M10s for some mobile firepower, and your 76s are just going to get counter-batteried to death. Well, yes, you're right, they will get counter-batteried, but we got a lot of them. They kill one, there's going to be 2 right behind them. And we're just going to set up a wall of AT guns, so they just keep having to, like, shell every single bloody hedgerow to actually make any goddamn progress. And only 100 points. You can get 1 per minute, and then have enough points to get a rifle squad. It's great. It's absolutely great. Anti-air's the same. Artillery, really it's a xylophone spam. We've got some 107s just for some cheaper artillery support, but really just going to be focused on using all the xylophones to stop any enemy pushes, and then some off-map artillery later on. And aeroplanes, we really want air supremacy. We took all the fighters. It may seem pretty dumb taking all the fighters, because yeah, you're going to get air supremacy, but how are you going to take advantage of it if you don't have any ground attack planes? Well, you see, the P-47 Thunderbolt is already actually a pretty good ground attack plane, as when you get like 6 of these guys on the field, and yes, you can get 6 of them in a bloody team match, you can just fly around as a 50 cal pain train, and you just strafe everything. You can even stun up Panthers if you just shoot them enough with 50 cals from above. So this deck is really just focused on rifle spam, 76mm AT gun spam, xylophone spam, and fighter spam. It's extremely spammy. In team games, it works really well at just holding a point or just holding an area, as you just grind down your opponent, as they have to kill so many rifle squads, they have to kill so many 76s, they're going to have to fight through, sorry about the snort here, you have to fight through so many xylophones and rocket artillery barrages, as well, and they're not even going to get close to air supremacy, as you just have so many fighters. They shoot 1 P-47 down, you got like 6 left, you're doing pretty good. It's not great for attacking, but you just hold your point and you just dominate. So overall, the pros and cons of this deck. The pros being you got rifle spam. Even on a less rifle mini deck as this, your rifle spam is always pretty top tier for second infantry. You're also kind of a budget tank division with second infantry. You got just enough Shermans and just enough Wolverines. Yeah, if you want to, you can play it as a lower tier, crappy tank division if you want. It's not the best idea, but you got a decent amount of tanks that are actually worth their rate. You got rocket artillery party, as you got the lovely xylophones, and also you just get lots of stuff with second infantry. You just got so much stuff, so many options. You're not going to be running out of just things in this division. There's always stuff to buy, and it's always pretty cheap. Like, most of these units are, under, like, the 150 point mark. So you can just buy 1 per minute of the majority of units in this division, which is lovely. Absolutely lovely. The 2 cons of this division that I can come up is, first up, is that this is really just for every American division. Your highest AP value is 14 or 13, depending on what you're using. I mean, yes, the 76s are no 17-pounders, but the extra 2 AP on the 17-pounder makes an awful big difference. As if you're fighting a 14 armor Panther, the 76mm AT gun will have a pretty hard time at max range. Your 17-pounder has a chance, and same with Fireflies as well. I mean, you just have to work around it. You just have to wait for them to get a bit closer, get some flanking shots. It's all entirely possible with this division. It's just a bit harder. Or British divisions, you can usually just let 17-pounder engage first, and you don't have to micro it or worry about it too much. And also, because you're an infantry division, this is a slow, grindy division. That's not terrible, per se, especially in a team match, if you just need to hold your area for your allies to push through. But if you want to, take ground with this division, it's going to be slow, whereas you really have to wait for the rifles to move up first, as they're going to be your main screening unit. You don't have, light vehicles or a lot of light vehicles or half-tracks to just, bum rush through an area and, exploit a breakthrough point. No, you have to wait for your rifles to catch up, and your anti-tank guns to catch up, and your artillery to catch up to try and gain ground. So we're not going to be getting crazy +2s all the time for 2nd Infantry, unless you manage to push really around, your opponent has nothing. But you're just not as mobile compared to tank divisions. But that's really just a problem with everything that's not a proper tank division. So with that out of the way, let's see how these guys actually perform in a match. Alright, and we are back. We are doing a 1v1 on St. Mariglis duelist. And on our bottom side over here, we have ourselves Alberto Cabestany as the 2nd Infantry Division. And on the northern side, we have ourselves Player as the 352nd Infantry Division. This is close combat, and let's take a look at Alberto's deck. So Alberto's deck is pretty standard stuff. He's taken all the M4s in A phase, Greyhound as well. He's going to be taking run range support and run ranger assault, but apart from that, it's all pretty much just rifle spam. 2 T30s in A phase instead of 2 M70Ds compared to my regular deck. And the main thing is also not a lot of artillery units. Only the 2 A phase mortars, the heavy and light runs, and then one of the 105 howitzers. No xylophones whatsoever. I think not taking xylophones is a bit silly, as xylophones are such a good unit for this division, and then you're really missing out not having that stunning rocket power. But apart from that, it's 2nd Infantry. It's just lots of infantry, anti-tank guns, artillery, etc. It's a rather standard play. So if we take a look at the opening, the main thing is with Sheen Alberto not taking all his units and tracks, keeping his ranger supports and recon just on foot at the start. He's just going to be holding the right hand side. He's going to be trying to do a push on the left, as his left hand push involves a Sherman, a ranger assault, ranger support, rifles, and a ranger leader. So let's see how it's actually goes. It's a bit of a ballsy move doing this early on. There's the problem with doing a push like this for 2nd Infantry is all your transports are soft-skinned. So as you see, they get no, I don't think I was a force unload, but they take much more damage compared to a regular half-track. And it's using a good use for artillery, as player stuff is all pretty cramped up too. But the Pak 40, the Panzer III, and the Panzerjäger are in a good spot, and that Pak 40 is enough to scare away at Sherman. And it's going to be down to the 60mm and the 107mm mortar to stun it up. Luckily for Alberto, he's managed to get most of his infantry behind the cover of the tree line, and the ranger guys, the rifles, they can afford to get shot. And this is the power of A-phase artillery with this division. As you can see, the 6mm mortar just fires so bloody fast. We've already used 8 of its shots already, and the 107 is providing good fire support as well. Once these ranger supports engage from the tree line, they're going to be in perfect range to deal damage. And because these are just regular grenadiers and fusiliers, they only have one machine gun, so ranger supports have a real unprecedented edge against these guys. And that's going to be forcing back player from a horseshoe area, if I had to call it. Town, both sides actually not even really go for town, which is rather funny, to be honest. This is usually the major hotspot for its map. Both sides trying to do a left-hand attack, but that's not going to go too well. And right-hand side is pretty quite good defensive line from player with the MG42 and the Pak 50mm. And the Sherman is just in a good position with the Pak 40 pretty much buggered off. The Sherman is going to have an absolute easy time, as the Panzer III can't kill it, the Panzerjäger can't really kill it. It's really just down to that single Pak 40 to do the damage And the Sherman here, he's just engaging. The Ranger supports, as you see, put down a lot of suppressive fire. The Pack 40 is back up and running, so the artillery probably want to be trying and kill it out ASAP, and that's exactly what he's going to be doing. That 107mm mortar is just absolutely ridiculously powerful. And that was a pretty good push from Alberto. I mean, at the same time, player did keep all his stuff rather close together, which was a bit silly. But it's just, this is the thing about 2nd Infantry and 4th Sherman and A phase. Is an absolute powerhouse if the enemy does not have, you know, 18 in the right position to deal with it. And there's still 2 more that he can get. So he can still take advantage of these next 6 minutes or so with his M4. And he's just continuing to push on the left hand side. And still using that mortar to try and kill that bloody Pack 40. A player setting up a defensive position. He's got his own 120mm mortar in position to counter battery the American run. And getting a pretty good hit, yeah. And he's just pushing through using his Ranger's throat. And he's also got the rifles nearby to really just soak up the damage. And he's going to be repositioning the Sherman over here to try and kill with a Panzer Jaeger. As he comes around the corner, all he has a shot onto the Panzer Jaeger. And that is because of the stabilizers. I mean, stabilizers allow you to come around corners and get that first shot advantage. Even against, like, Panzer IVs. I mean, especially if the Panzer IV is facing the wrong way. As you just have such good, just, like a lock-on time with the M4 Sherman. It's lovely. But he's got a good foothold on his left-hand side. His horseshoes a very good natural barrier between him and the enemy forces. I don't think players going to be making too much, or Alberto's going to be making too much progress now. The player has managed to bunker down with an IG-18 and the artillery. He's even trying to smoke Alberto's M4 to stop him from shooting. And the town, at this point Alberto realised enough was there. I'm actually really surprised player didn't send anything in there either. I mean, even though like player only has like Grenadiers and North Troop in A phase, I think it's until B phase where we can get Stormtroops for 350 seconds. Joe, don't quote me on that. You still want to try and make a play for the town, but Alberto's just going to take it for rifles and Ranger shots, so that's pretty good for him. And really all the focus is on the left hand side. And Panzer Jaeger firing some shots, trying to chase down the Sherman. This is where the Sherman is in danger, as that Panzer Jaeger can get close enough to actually penetrate it. But look, the Ranger Marauders there, and kablooey. Good spot for the Ranger Marauder, as it just shuts down at entirely choke point. Got some Oz Trooping trying to move in. And once his Sherman comes back into action, he can return some fire. The rifles unsupported are pretty damn weak. He really needs fire supportive rifles to, make him actually worth their money. As even though they can do pretty well in close range, that they're really just to be shot at. It is a more expensive ersatz trooping to be honest. We are going to be hitting B phase very shortly. On the right hand side, this push actually run very well because Alberto, just I didn't see what went on. I thought he dropped smoke up. I see the Grenadier Fuhrer dropping smoke to try to save the pack gun. But he managed to drive up through some rifles and range support, and managed to capture his tree line. I don't think it's going to go well for too long, as you've got a Panzer Jaeger being brought in, and there's no AT over here. Whereas it's got the M7DD, which is actually pretty good at scaring away at Panzer Jaeger, but still, it's not the best AT to deal with this push. And the MG42 is in a good position, so I don't think his push is going to go too well for Alberto over here. Got the 107 trying to kill the IG-18. It is being suppressed by players' heavy mortar as well. And this Panzer tank is in a rather sneaky position from player. If that Sherman tries to move up into this area, he is going to get rickety shreked. But the thing is, player Alberto, You know, he's got the +2 point advantage. He's holding pretty well. I mean, he doesn't really have to push past this point. He's going to lose right hand side, and that's going to rip him back down to a +1. But he has a good defensive position. He has the choke point horseshoe on left. He has the town under his control. And right hand side, just put an AT gun here or yeah, and you just completely dominate the open field. So this is looking pretty damn good for Alberto already. And he's just getting the artillery, getting more heavy mortars out. As those heavy mortars are good. And even getting some preliminary AA just in case. And a heavy howitzer. And I mean, both of these divisions are pretty heavy artillery spammy divisions. I'm gonna guess player has more artillery in his deck compared to Alberto. But Alberto's doing a pretty good job already knocking out the units. Already finally killed a Pack 40 over here. And you do have the Stug moving up and left. And we got the push here from some Fusiliers. Panzer Track does get spotted, yo. Should have been put on a hold fire. And he does get killed. But the Ranger Assault, are they going to be able to hold? I don't think so, because... Yeah, I don't think so. As they're not in range to use their flamethrowers. Just barely out of range. Maybe if it's in the forest just a little bit more. Yeah, this is like flamethrower range right here. Got Greyhound on left. And now you just hold the 2nd Infantry at this point. Now use your air superiority. You've got the P-38 Lightnings. As Alberto did decide to take 2 cards of the Light Lightnings. Which, you know, I still don't think that's a good card personally, but different strokes for different blokes, whatever. And player is trying to make a push on the right hand side with a bunch of like OS troops, SS troops, and storm troops. Backed up with, yeah, pretty scary 2-star Marder, where it is a 1-star Marder being boosted by the leader unit. So now would be a good time to bring out some AT, and that's exactly what he's doing. That should be a 76mm, yes it is, as well as a rifle squad. And at this point you can buy a 76mm and a rifle squad every minute, which is pretty good for 2nd Infantry. That's a lot of spam you can get on the field. And the Marder 2 is already getting hit up by the 57mm here, and he's being forced to retreat. Good use of smoke from player's Grenadier Führer to save the Marder 2. But Alberto, he has a pretty good defensive line here with the AT guns and rifle squads. And the rifle's going to keep your SS trooping at bay. And on left hand side, Alberto going to be retaking the forest just thanks to his fire support from the 50 cal of the GMC and the MA Greyhound. The Fusilier is going to be getting into an ambush position. And where they are, they can actually use their machine guns. This is because of how his tree line works. This is just above like 100 meters or so. So you have the road blocking. You have the road opened up line of sight. So anything comes through here and you just stay in the tree line, they're just going to get blasted by machine guns or the Fusiliers. And with 2-star veteran trios, machine guns at that range are pretty deadly. But yeah, it's just a bit of an artillery war back and forth. We got the heavy SK-18s from player, and even though they are like 4km range, they are still in range of the 105mm howitzers, as this isn't entirely a big map. And this is this artillery war now. And honestly, player's gonna be winning this, I think, just due to the fact that he just has more artillery in his deck. But it's just a defense on the right hand side. I mean, this tree line acting as a good natural barrier. And the Sherman here, I mean, the Sherman can pretty easily kill all of these tanks. And he's going to be popping around the corner. You see, that's trooping just trying to rouse him, but the rifles are going to be stopping him. You see, he pops around the corner, stabilizers kick into effect. And there goes the Panther 3. Doing the same thing over here against that command car. Once those MG-34s open up, he can just return fire as well. Little Panjäger first trying to get into position to kill the Sherman. Here he's facing the absolute wrong way. It's really just a containment action for Alberto to stop his infantry person. Finally, players getting into the town with some SOS troops. And that's going to be forcing Alberto to get some reinforcements in there, aka lots of rifles, because you can't go wrong with rifles. This is pretty standard 2nd Infantry play. Just hold on to what you got once you get the ground on A phase, because you got a pretty good A phase just thanks to the armor advantage that you have against a majority of Axis divisions, unless I mean against like 2nd Panzer or you know, a well-positioned Trophy Firefly, you're going to be doing pretty good in A phase with those goddamn Shermans. The Ranger Assault, as you see, doing pretty good. And look at player of the SOS troops. He jumps in and out of the building to try to dodge the flamethrowers. And there's a strike here from the P-38 Lightning. Doesn't do a lot of damage, as you see, even against infantry, but it is enough to force them to fall back. And good use of smoke from player to allow SOS troops to fall back. SOS troops are going to be killing the rifle squad. If we got a bit closer, they could have just captured it. Another rocket run, but as you see, just doesn't do a lot of damage. And now Alberto's artillery park is getting counter-batteried heavy by the SK-18s. And now we're into C phase. We've been in C phase actually a little bit now. I just didn't realise. But player is bringing out the X-Panther, and this is going to be a pretty tough customer to deal with, as it has just enough armor to bounce the 76mm guns at max range. I mean, it doesn't have a lot of side armor, so if it does show its exposed side, it will be pretty much a dead cat. But still, that's going to be a rather tough thing to deal with. He's going to be bringing it onto the right-hand side. And this is long for player if he doesn't get out too close. Yeah, it's going to be a pretty good Yad Panther. Alberto, he can get a lot of 76mm guns. He has 6 of them in his deck, and he does have the ones with 1-star veteran, and this is one of them over here. If he can just like position 2 of them to just double team the X-Panther, I mean, that's a pretty good idea. But even though Alberto, you know, he doesn't really have the initiative in terms of, you know, just momentum and being able to push, he's still holding really well, because you can hold really well with 2nd Infantry. You just have so much stuff to hold. I mean, you killed like one rifle squad, has like 3 more, yeah. And as you see, Alberto is just sending in more rifle squads. He's sending in more rifle squads, because why not? He's getting some more heavy artillery, but he just keeps getting counter-batteried by the SK-18s. His howitzers aren't going to be doing too great. And once again, I really think he should have took the bloody xylophones, as the xylophones would be able to 100% shut down this town. And the Yad Panther's here. The Yad Panther, he's getting pretty close. I mean, that's pretty dangerous. If he has an AT gun in his hedgerow, there's one over here, which is not close enough. He could shoot it. Here's the Fusilier right next to the hedgerow, so the Fusilier would probably just spot it. So that's why he feels comfortable bringing it in so close. But the Yad Panther is going to be, you know, it's going to be a bit difficult to deal with. He's got the MG42s backing him up. The 76mm gun here misses the first shot, unfortunately, but second shot lands square on. And Alberto's just containing. He's just containing. Just throwing in more rifles. I mean, they're losing pretty badly to the SOS troops, but he can just get more rifles, because why not? Rifle leaders are holding on pretty well, because they are rifle leaders. Good use of smoke from the SOS troops, blocking the 50 cal truck from doing its thing. And losing the town is going to be bringing it back to a 50-50, but Alberto just has such a huge point advantage. You know, a player would need like a +3 at this point. Heck, it probably even like a +4 to really take a victory. And with 352nd, it's not a mobile division either. You're not going to be getting a +3 in such a short amount of time. But Alberto, he's just, you know, he's just bringing in more rifles, because why not? Using those P-38. And the P-38s, at least they're pretty good at just stunning stuff up, and only 125 points at least. Or 130 points, my bad. Blue rifles now coming in. And if he can just position these fire support vehicles to get line of sight on the SOS troops, and he can at least fight back rather efficiently. But those SK-18s are just pounding away. I mean, he's just lost 2 of his 3 105 Harriers, which is not good. And once again, like, xylophones would be such a good choice, especially in this situation. Especially now there's 2 Yak Panthers on the field. As you can just shut down posters of xylophones so bloody efficiently. Now we do have, is that the Wolverine over here? No, it's a 76mm AT gun and a Sherman. But once again, I just don't see player being able to push through this. As Alberto, it's just so much stuff you have to push through for 2nd Infantry. That even if you'll lose, well, it's still 50-50, but even if you're not doing, you know, yeah, great in terms of just holding. And you can just at least throw more stuff into the meat grinder to try and clog up the attack. Got the Stuka, yeah, trying to get an anti-tank gun run, but Gabby comes in and nips him in the bud. And because there's no AA from player at all, literally 0, Gabby's just gonna fly around completely untouched with total and complete air supremacy. Left hand side not looking too good as player, is just building up a huge amount of forces. But look at his 76mm AT gun. He's in a pretty good position to try and nab that Yak Panther. Driver got knocked out, yeah, by that 2nd run. Yeah, he's gonna get killed by the 50 cal. Is he in range to penetrate? Yes, he is. But it's not. That's not the best penetration chances. I think that's like 16 or 8% chance to penetrate currently. But he can at least get some crew hits at least. If that was a 17-pounder, I would have guessed that Yak Panther would probably be dead by the amount of times it just bounced. Now the problem with the 76s, especially more heavy armor like that, you know, it's sometimes even if you do get a complete drop of them, you just don't kill it. Over here, for example, yo, I missed his first shot, unfortunately. That would have been a pretty good chance for a kill and blow, yeah. But the rifles are coming into the town. Fortunately for the Yak Panthers, rifles don't have bazookas, so he's pretty safe from close range AT weaponry. But Alberto, I mean, I've been saying this all match, he's just been holding, and he's holding pretty well. You just throw the rifles in, and that's what you do. I mean, he's not being able to kill these Yak Panthers, but he stopped them from pushing up as he just has, you know, lines and lines of stuff all over. He's got like 2 AT guns over here. He's gonna push through, or Panzer III, that's gonna get zooked. Is it gonna get zooked? It got zooked and surrendered. Bit silly that Panzer III Persimada goes down to the right. Yeah, I really don't know what else to say. It's just it's the 2nd Infantry. The Yak Panther moving in pretty heavily. It's a bit of a ballsy position here. But it gets heavy bombed by the P-47. But he's going to fall back into the safety of his own lines. And the Yak Panther on the right hand side be forced to fall back as well. And with only 4 minutes left, I mean, players managed to get a few points, but it's definitely not going to be enough to take the victory. And Alberto just getting that slow, grindy victory. Which is what you do with 2nd Infantry. You just grind your opponent down. I mean, for some it may not be the most, fun way to play. I personally like doing, like vehicle pushes through breakthroughs and just seeing where my 222s or, my half-tracks and motor rifles can go. But if you just want something a bit slower, a bit more methodical, 2nd Infantry is there for you. And it's a pretty easy deck to pick up and learn. If you're new to a game, and if you want like a good easy infantry division, 2nd Infantry can't really go too wrong. All the units are nice, they're well balanced. That's what all the units are pretty cheap as well, so if you do lose like a Sherman or 76mm AT gun, it's not the end of the world. You have stuff that can replace it, because it's American, it's cheap, you got the industrial power of the United States. And looking at the kills, it's really close. That's really, I just think, because towards the end, he was actually no, it's actually pretty back and forth throughout the entirety of the match. It's red and blue all over. I mean, there's a big like blue streak here and then a big red streak here, 288's going down. But yeah, the M4DD's doing pretty damn good, because in A phase they are unstoppable, and only against Panther 3s are pretty good to use. And lost a lot to those SK-18s, pretty much all of his artillery and AT guns to those SK-18s. They were bloody deadly. Yeah, and once again, if those was xylophones, they could at least like reposition and not be so vulnerable. But yeah, 2nd Infantry, it's really simple. It's really basic. Same with a lot of the American equipment divisions, to be honest. It's just a lot of mediocre stuff thrown in together, but you get a lot of it. It's cheap. It's good for grinding down. I really have not much else to say. So I'm leaving it at. This has been another Steel Divisional overview. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And usual, please just take it easy.